Today, we're going to show you how to set up your email services inside of HighLevel so you're able to send out email inside of the GoHighLevel tool. So stay tuned and build along with us. So you're doing a great job so far. Right now, what we're going to do is we're going to help you set up your email. Now, this is going to get a little bit confusing because you have to actually set up your domain to send and receive emails. So what we're going to do first is going to go over to the left-hand side and we're going to go to settings. Inside of settings, you're going to go over to where it says email services. Inside email services, you're going to notice this big white screen that comes up and pops right in front of you. Now, in here, what we have to do is we have to set up an email server to send emails in bulk out of this tool. Now, a couple of understandings before you get started. One, do not blast emails out of here. What a blast means is if I take my list, let's say of 10,000, 4,000, 1,000 people, and I try to send emails all at once, it's going to immediately go to spam. The reason being is because you're a brand new IP. Now, brand new IPs, this means you're brand new to the internet, and all the email servers like Google, Microsoft, Yahoo, AOL, you name it, all those ones that are out there have never really received any kind of emails from you. So what happens is you're like the new kid on the block. If you try to immediately send 1,000 emails out, you're going to look incredibly suspicious. And the bots that operate, Google, Microsoft, and everybody else, are going to classify you as spam because they've never seen you do anything. And all of a sudden, you're sending mass emails out. Now, this is also why you can't use a free email address like you're at gmail.com or you're at microsoft.com or you're at Yahoo, because those are not made to send mass emails out. And anything that's mass is over 100 or between the 100 and like 250 area. So if you try to send all those at once from your free emails account, what's going to happen is that's automatically going to flag as spam and it's not going to go out. So it's really important for you to understand that that's kind of the realm and world we live in when it comes to sending mass emails. So again, just to be clear, when you first start, you cannot blast emails. You cannot take your entire list, regardless how often you're emailing it and how old you've had it and all that. None of that matters. The second you come into this tool or any new tool whatsoever, and you try to send a mass amount of emails out, you can't do it that fast. You actually have to basically every day send a little bit at a time. It starts at 300 and then moves in doubles every day. So 300 the first day, 600 the second day, and so forth and so on. Now, these are not my rules, so don't shoot the messenger, but these are the actual rules of the internet in general. So you got to be really careful how you go ahead and do that. What we're going to be doing today is we are going to be setting a new server up that is in this new tool that you have now that we want to basically send mass emails out. All right. For anybody doing the business, again, I'm going to remind you, you cannot use your free accounts in order to do this because they're going to flag as spam. They're never going to make it into the inbox. And those are at Gmail, at Microsoft, at Yahoo, whatever. Anything that you have that you're not paying for is considered one of those. And the odds of them being able to send mass emails are like none. So just keep that in mind. Do not blast. That's the first rule. The second rule is you have to match the domain that you are sending currently right now. Well, what does that all mean, right? So think of it like this. I have a domain called nuno.com. I can only send from nuno.com. If I try to send from john.com, there's going to be a mismatch and it's not going to make it into the inbox. That has to be something that you fully understand, okay? Again, if I want to send mass email out, I have to send it from the same email address that I've been sending emails out of. So I send from support@nuno.com or info@nuno.com or nuno@nuno.com. All those end with nuno.com. That is my domain. And the server I'm going to create for here has to be in that same domain. So it has to be nuno.com. All right. Now, that's the second rule, have to send from the same domain. Hey, we want to interrupt this video for a quick little minute to just let you know that I hope you're enjoying this video. We want to thank you for being here. But more importantly, we are hoping that this content helps you do whatever you're trying to do inside of HighLevel. We also want to let you know that you have options to get additional help. We offer a $197 a month VIP coaching program that includes 4 days of office hours, first come, first serve with Andy or myself, where we go in and we answer any of your questions that you might have live with a group setting for other people that are also working in HighLevel. We also have a VIP group where we answer questions directly one-on-one with anybody posting in that group to give you the absolute best support. It also comes with a bunch of other features, including our funnel brick system, our little mini course, and more importantly, a couple guides that'll help you through this, and also including our SOP library that we use for pretty much everything inside of our agency. So thank you for this quick little minute, but more importantly, go back to the video, get whatever you need, and if you have any questions that we can answer inside the video, just drop a comment on the video and we'll make sure to answer whenever we get a chance. And now back to the show. So no blasting, have to send from the subdomain. Well, how do we do all this and what does that all mean? So what we're going to do inside of here is we're going to create email server that is going to allow us to send from the domain that I'm currently sending email out of. Now, before you go into a panic, people ask, well, is it going to mess up my current email now? It's not, because we're not using basic what already Google or Microsoft, wherever you bought your email from, is using. We're going to be using and creating a little server. Think of it like a little house where we're basically going to send email through that little house where it's not going to disturb anything else. And I'm going to show you kind of how to do that. All right. So the first thing we're going to do is when we went to email services, you're going to notice it says create a dedicated domain. So I'm going to hit this big blue button and it's going to take me to this screen. Now you're going to notice right here up on top that it says enter domain name. Now, what we're going to do here is really simple. All we have to do is we're going to create what's called a subdomain. A subdomain is basically, I'll show you kind of up on the screen a little bit, and let me kind of just drag this down just a little bit for you to see. I'm going to come over here and just give you a little basic lesson on domains. YouKnow.com is a main domain, right? That is the root domain. That is what you bought. You bought a domain just like this, right? Anything after the domain is called the path, okay? This is a /home, /about, /blog. You can have a gazillion subdomains. You just cannot have a path that equals a path that you've had before, meaning I can't have two homes. I would have to have a home and then a home too, all right? Just for you to understand that. Well, guess what? There's also a part of the beginning of the domain that's called a subdomain, and I can have a limited one of those. It's go, all right? LC, www, believe it or not, is a subdomain. All of these are subdomains, and I can have unlimited number of those. And just like the /path, I can only have one of a kind in there, meaning I can't have two go dots. All right, it would have to be go, and if I wanted another go for whatever reason, I would do go to, because that is already being used by a different subdomain. Sounds a little confusing. Just think of it. / is the path. Anything before the root domain is called a subdomain. And whenever we're creating a little house or a little space that we need to use in these systems, sometimes we're going to create a subdomain. So I'm going to come over here and just to give you an example, we would use like LC. Now, if you go back over here, right, and I'm going to make this a little bit bigger for you now, notice that there already says lc.mydomain.com, and that's actually what we prefer because the email server and services that we use inside this tool, we label it LC because it stands for lead connector, which is the way that it connects to all these different emails and all this other stuff, right? So in this particular case, I have a domain that I want to use, and I'm going to go to LC, and I'm going to use a domain called automatedmarketer.live. All right. Now, I'm going to copy the automatedmarketer.live. I'm going to come over here, copy, and I'm going to paste it right here. All right. All I did was basically take the LC dot and I added my main domain in here. Yours could be YouKnow.com, or yourdomain.com. Super easy to do. This is the first step, right? And we're going to use LC just to make it super simple. So again, I'm going to paste the domain I decided to use for that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit add and verify. Now, before you ask, a couple things here. Where do you buy your domains if you don't already have one? Well, you're going to buy your domain. We recommend Cloudflare or GoDaddy. And we actually recommend Cloudflare over GoDaddy. Only reason being is that Cloudflare is a little bit more reliable. It has more uptime. And honestly, the domains are like $10 versus anything else that you're paying for right now. Now, a lot of you are going to come with domains already, and you're probably going to have somebody that you're already working with. Now, I'm going to get into a little bit of the technical stuff here, but I want you to understand that if you're not using GoDaddy or Cloudflare, this is going to be incredibly difficult, especially if you're new and you don't understand domains, because it's going to require you to add something called records. Records are basically the way the internet tells you that there is an address out there that you have to go to. It sounds a little confusing, but just think of it like this. You know how you have your Google Maps and you want to go somewhere, or your Apple Maps or whatever it is, you have to put in an address and it gets there. Well, believe it or not, there's a lot of communication happen like back and forth when it happens. And that is basically being that you are going to get information back from whatever mechanical technical systems saying, hey, go to this address and here are all the directions. Well, records are kind of the same thing. Records are the way for the internet to communicate with each other that lets things know where things are. And that's where we're going to have to be adding. And we're going to have to add quite a bit for email if you do not have Cloudflare or GoDaddy. If you do have Cloudflare or GoDaddy, and this is going to be incredibly easy because all it's going to require you to do is basically just authorize the system to go put the records in. I'm going to show you how easy this is. All right, we're going to try to show you both so there's no real massive confusion so you fully understand. So I'm going to come over here. I'm going to hit create new. Okay. Oh, hold on one second. I've already used LC elsewhere to do some kind of, again, to show you guys how to do this. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to do Replies, another one you can use. We recommend either replies dot or LC dot. So replies, all right, and I put replies dot automatedmarketer.live. You can use LC dot, which is the first one we recommend. You can use replies dot. You can use anything. The only one you can't use is mail or email. It sometimes get used by WordPress sites. Just don't use those. All right, so replies or LC dot. Either or will work. So we're going to go ahead and hit add and verify. And now you're going to notice a pretty big screen come up. That's going to basically be, hey, it looks like you want to connect your domain. I can add the records manually, which again, if you do not have Cloudflare or GoDaddy, this is the way you're going to have to do it. There is no choice, right? And then I'm going to hit continue. It's going to automatically go to Cloudflare where I have my domain because it has an interconnection with Cloudflare, which makes it easy. And then honestly, all I have to do is hit authorize domain. And lo and behold, it tells you, okay, we are going to add all these different records into your sub account or into your account for your domains. Now, just to give you an idea what that looks like, I'm going to come in here. This is my Cloudflare account. In my Cloudflare account, I'm going to go to DNS. And inside my DNS, you are going to notice that I have all these records. Notice that I had LC before. These are records that basically are communicating with the internet of where things are. Super easy, right? Nothing here whatsoever hard. Just understand that this is basically the map directions for the internet to do the things it needs to do to send your email out. All right, just to make it super simple. All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and basically I'm going to give it an authorized lead connector, which is a system inside of here to add all these records on my behalf. This literally is going to take all of like 3 minutes. So I'm going to hit authorize and I'm going to come back over here. And now we are going to play a game that's called the verification game that I like to call it. Now, in here, you're going to notice that all these are, whatever the color that is, like beige or whatever that is, yellowish. And what I want to do is I want to make sure that I come in here and I get green check marks on all of these, right? So all I have to do if I come in here is refresh my screen. So I'm just going to lower this a little bit, just give you an idea. And again, don't worry about what's on the left-hand side. It's the same for all systems, right? And I'm going to come over here and I'm going to refresh my screen using the refresh button. Oh, I don't know why it keeps doing that. And I'm going to keep refreshing it over here until I get all green check marks. So just give it a second. Oh, there's a couple greens. Let me show you what that all looks like. Great. That means that all the records have been added into my system and now I can move forward. So if I go back into my Cloudflare and I refresh this screen, you're going to notice a lot of things that say replies on it. Replies meaning that I have all those records already added. Here they are now. You see this right here? Here they are now, all here. So I come in here and once they're all verified, I'm going to hit verify domain. Now, here comes the next very important part. Remember I told you that I can only send emails out of this system using my domain that I've installed, which is automatedmarketer.live. Right? So I would have like support at automatedmarketer.live. I would have Nuno at automatedmarketer.live, and the list goes on, right? So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to come to the 3 little dots. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to go to set headers. And over here, I'm going to have the name. I'm going to have Nuno, all right, Tavares, all right. And then I'm going to come over here and it's going to be support at automatedmarketer.live. Once I do that, then every email coming out of here will always take a little bit of a preference, and it will help me to basically not end up in spam. Because what happens is if I decided to send an email out of this tool and it's, let's say, nuno@gmail.com, if I don't have the header set, what will happen is it will automatically go into somebody's spam because it's saying that, hey, you are sending out of this address versus any other. So it's very, very important that you guys understand that as you go through this. Now, again, Cloudflare and GoDaddy, where I have all my domains, automatically do that configuration. Again, it's this simple. What we're going to do is we're going to come in here and we're going to do the manual approach of adding the records. And I'm going to do this all over again using a different set of variables and rules, right? So basically I'm going to come over here, right? I'm going to click on these three little dots and I'm going to delete the domain. Okay. I'm going to type in the word delete. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to physically show you how to add the domains. I'm going to use Cloudflare because it's impossible for me to show you. There's thousands upon thousands of domain providers. These are the most relevant because they're the best. So what's going to happen is I'm going to show you how to manually enter it inside of Cloudflare. Actually, believe it or not, be very similar to any other domain provider that you're referencing, right? You just got to find where the DNS records live in order for you to install them. So I'm going to go back, right? And I'm going to kind of start the process over. And now what I'm going to show you is how to manually add all those records so you fully understand how to do that. So I'm going to come over here. I'm going to go to settings. And by the way, if you don't know how, best thing is to contact the provider, through a chat or whatever way that you have, and ask them that you need help in setting up those records. And 9 times out of 10, they'll just do it for you. I mean, I've worked with a ton of them, and I work with a lot of people that are beginners that don't understand that. So the best way to do it is actually physically go in and make that happen, right? So we're going to go into email servers, okay, just like before. So this is going to be a repeat, except this time I'm going to pretend that I don't have Cloudflare or GoDaddy, and I'm going to add all these records manually. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit create a dedicated domain, and we use Replies already, so it's already there. Let me use reply, okay? Because I don't have reply in there. And then I'm going to do dot. Again, the domain stays the same though, right? Because I got to use this domain in order to happen. And I'm going to hit add and verify. Now, what it's going to do is it's going to pop up that screen, and I'm going to choose add record manually. And then what it's going to do is you're going to notice that it's going to have these records right here. Now, these are the record types. This is the host, or sometimes it's called different things in other places. Same thing with the required value. But the main reason is that this is kind of the first part, and this is usually the second part. It's either required value or content or host or name or something like that. It has different names in different places, but it's usually 3 things that you have to focus in on. And this is what we're going to do today, right? And by the way, there's a little watch video help, and it's going to tell you how to do that. Is we're going to come over here and we're going to add these records manually. So again, I'm in Cloudflare, but every domain provider is going to have what's called an add a record button under where it says DNS and under where you can manage your records. If I go into GoDaddy, let's say, right, and I come in here, this is a list of all my domains. I go to DNS, and in here, see, it has DNS records, forwarding, name servers, and all that. If I go to DNS records, it has add new record. If I go to Cloudflare, I go to records, DNS, add new record, okay? Now, when you add a new record, it's always gonna ask you to type first. It either might be in the middle or it's gonna be to the left. The first record, if we go back here, is you're gonna notice it's a text record. So I'm gonna come over here and I'm gonna come over to drop down, and I'm looking for TXT. Now, again, this one has name, this one has host. It's interchangeable. Just understand that this is what you're gonna go first. So I hit the 2 little squares to copy that record. I drop the name in here. Then I go back and it has required value. I'm going to copy that, and notice that required value is content inside of there. But you're going to kind of get the drift. It's going to have a name or host, then it's going to have required value or content. And I'm going to drop that value in there, and I'm going to go ahead and hit save. All right. Now it added that record. Wonderful. So this record is added up on top. Now I'm going to go ahead and add record, right? Same thing as before. This one is also a TXT, and the first host or value is going to be reply. So I'm going to come over here, drop down to TXT. I'm going to drop that reply right there. Then I'm going to go to content. All right. And I'm going to drop that value right in here. All right. So contact. And again, remember it's required value. I drop it in here. Sometimes it's going to have a different word, but just try to keep to the same kind of motion. It's usually wherever you see this bottom thing here, or it has that information, that's usually 9 times out of 10, we're going to drop that in there. All right. We're going to go ahead and hit save. Awesome. Next, we're going to go to email reply. Same thing. I'm going to copy this, add record, and this type is a CNAME record. So we're going to change this to say CNAME, the type of record, the name or the host. I'm going to drop email.reply. Then I'm going to come over here and mailgun.org. Boom. And then we are actually going to turn in Cloudflare only. This is only in Cloudflare. You're not going to really have that anywhere else. You're going to turn that proxy off, and we're going to hit save. All right. Come back over here. Now it's saying MX records. We're going to take this. Now, an MX record is called an email record, right? An email record is a little bit more challenging. Just be aware, because you have one value that's not listed here, but I'm going to tell you what it is. I'm going to come over here. First, we're going to do the name is the reply. Then we're going to copy the second part and we're going to put it into mail server because that's where the mail is going to come out of. And then in here, it's going to say required priority. You can list 10, okay? And we're going to hit save. All right, next, we're going to add a next record. Come over here. Again, it's another MX. It's reply again. So let's go to MX. Boom, reply, the mail server, come in here, drop that in here. And then again, priority, you could do a 10 or a 20, right? Super easy to do. And I'm going to go ahead and hit save. Now I'm going to come in here and I'm going to hit verify records because it should verify those records already, except you're going to notice that there's one missing. Now notice I have in here, all the records are showing. The only thing that's missing is my DMARC. Now, DMARC is now a text record. The host name is going to be dmarc.reply, and then the values is going to be this, right? So let's go back and we're going to hit add new record. We're going to come over here and we're going to do a text record. And then in here, we're going to copy this underscore dmarc.reply. Boom. And we're going to come over here and we are going to do v equals dmarc1. So we're going to copy that. Boom. Oh, just make sure we get rid of all the spaces and make that up front. Again, text was underscore dmarc.reply. Required was v equals dmarc1, p equals none. And I'm going to go ahead and hit save. Boom. This is all said and done. Now, just like before, I'm going to refresh my page all the way in the top browser. And when I refresh my page, all right, here we go. We got this all set. Now, verify domain. Okay. And just like before, 3 little dots, set headers, my name, and then the email address I'm going to be sending out of this tool, support@automatedmarketer.live. Okay. And then I'm going to go ahead and hit save. And that's it. So now you've officially added an email server. So hopefully this was helpful and we'll see you in the next one.